Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So before beginning with the verse, I just thought I would mention, since today is the disappearance day of Sri Narahari Sarkar, a great associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just that he would accompany Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in many places while he was in Bengal, and he wrote a famous book, Shri Krishna Bhajanamrita, which has many wonderful explanations about Krishna, about devotional service, and how one should always continue one's devotional service in any circumstance. And actually there's a story. He was very dear to Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and one time Chaitanya and Nityananda were passing near his place of residence, and so Lord Chaitanya, actually Nityananda, he asked for honey, because Nityananda is fond of honey. So Narahari Sarkar, by his very mystical ability, he went to a nearby pond, little lake or pond, and just extracted water, and it turned into honey. So this is the power of a Vaishnava. And he was the brother of Mukunda, who was a great physician and father of Raghunandana, and Basu Ghosh also. And he's celebrated in our Gorda Artik, Narahari Chamara. He's waving the Chamara for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's very accomplished Vaishnava. So just to recognize his disappearance day. And on disappearance days, it's always good to request that Vaishnava, to give us one drop of their exclusive pure devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we can also become very serious and accomplished and advance in our devotional service. So, we'll read today's verse, 18:18. Usually repeat the verse, or some of you have Bhagavad-Gita, so we can repeat it. Jnanam Jyayam Parighyata Trivida Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Kartati Trividha Karma Sangra Jnanam Gyayam Parighyata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Kartati Trividha Karma Sangra Jnanam Gyayam Parighyata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanam Karma Kartati Trividha Karma Sangra. Somebody else. Gyayam, the object of knowledge. Parighyata, the knower. Trividha, of three kinds. Karma, of work. Chodana, the impetus. Karanam, the senses. Karma, the work. karta, the doer, iti, thus, trividha, of three kinds, karma, of work, sangraha, the accumulation. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are three constituents of action. Everyone could please repeat. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action. Purports. There are three kinds of impetus for daily work: knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. The instruments of the work itself, and the worker are called constituents of work. Any work done by any human being has these elements. Before one acts, there is some impetus, which is called inspiration. Any solution arrived at before work is actualized in a subtle form of work. Then the work takes the form of action. First, one has to undergo the psychological processes of thinking, feeling, and willing, and that is called impetus. The inspiration to work is the same if it comes from the scripture or from the instruction of the spiritual master. When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then the actual activity takes place by the help of the senses, including the mind, which is the center of all senses. The sum total of all the constituents of the activity are called the accumulation of work. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganam Jana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Darati Shva Patantika Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadha Shivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this particular verse is kind of a concluding verse for this section of the chapter. So this chapter is dealing with renunciation and the renunciant. And of course, Arjuna's dilemma, or his question, is, are these separate things? So now Krishna, from the third verse on, has actually united the two. And especially after verse number 10, he equates the activity, or the necessity for being detached, which is the tyaga, or the renunciation, and being dedicating the activity to Krishna, the renunciant, are the same. Of course, Arjuna, obviously, he's a grihastha, he's a prince or king, kshatriya. So when the word sannyasi is used in this chapter, it doesn't mean the formal order of sannyas. It means one who understands all these things, especially in the previous verses, where the 5 factors of action. Because here we're speaking again about action. We're summing up that which was begun by that definition. No, the adhisthana, the karta, the karana, the place, the worker, the instruments, the pritak vividha, the different endeavors, because there are different kinds of endeavors. Work depends on so many things, but ultimately, and the most important point, and what's being indirectly implied in every one of these verses, and Srila Prabhupada, of course, he implies it he doesn't imply it, he says it in his purport. And the inspiration to work is the same if it comes from the scriptures or from the spiritual master. So here, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about work and devotion. But Krishna is not making that 100% clear. Now why, at the end of this chapter, Krishna will say, Sarvadhamam parityajya mamekam sharanam braja, that one should renounce this karma yoga, jnana yoga, all types of yoga except pure bhakti. So why is there so much analysis here? Because Krishna is speaking Bhagavad-Gita for everyone's benefit. Just like Lord Chaitanya, when he returned from Gaya and he was teaching his students, and then one day he was so absorbed, because he came back so absorbed in the holy name, then he started chanting Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And one of his students said, what mantra is this? Why don't you chant, Mahamantra or something? You were chanting Mahamantra before, why don't you chant that? Or chant some Vedic mantra. This is not a Vedic mantra. And immediately Lord Chaitanya took a stick and ran after him, chased him out of the class. He actually ran after him out into the courtyard. And the student ran for his life. And then he gathered with all the other students, another group of students that weren't in the classroom. And he said, this Nimai Pandit is getting out of control. We have to do something. We have to stand up to him. He can't be abusive like this. So when that happened, and Lord Chaitanya came back to his external senses, he said, I have to take sannyas. I have to devise a means by which everyone can be included, including these puffed up students, pandits, scholars, atheists. They all have to, at least by taking sannyas, they'll offer me respects. So in the same way, Krishna goes through so many exercises, defining karma yoga, sankhya yoga. For us, for all of us, we don't necessarily need all of this analysis, because we're here in Vrindavan chanting the holy name. We're happy. We go and worship Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Gaurnitai, and we're happy. But this analysis, still, it helps us to understand, because just like in the previous analysis a few verses back, the places are different. Srila Prabhupada always says time, place, and circumstance. So the place may be different, and therefore how to apply our principles of bhakti in different places may be different. The way one may dress, the way one may address one's audience, this will all be different. The instruments, the senses, at different times in life, the senses sometimes they're very strong. Like when one is young, the senses are strong and difficult to control. When one is older, they're difficult to wake up, and so we have different, so all these factors. So therefore Krishna is giving this analysis mostly for different kinds of people. It's like Srila Prabhupada said many times, that for people who like philosophy, we have our books. And for those that are not inclined to philosophy, they can chant the holy name. But actually to chant the holy name properly, to perform devotional service properly, this analysis is also necessary for devotees. This whole analysis which is given of renunciation, because renunciation in one sense, Rupa Goswami has summed it up, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. That real renunciation means that Krishna Sambandhe. And of course Krishna declares that from the very beginning of Bhagavad-Gita, that param drishtva nivartate. That when you get a higher taste, otherwise when you experience Krishna, therefore Srila Prabhupada said, on many occasions, but one occasion I remember, he said, first we give the Maha Mantra and let people become happy by chanting. Then we can give the rules, regulations, discipline. Sometimes people come to our temples, and somebody immediately, they say, what's this all about? We have to follow 4 principles. And for people nowadays in modern society full of so much sense gratification, that's just like telling them go away. You talk about the 4 regulated principles. You even talk about one of them. Maybe meat eating you can get away with. People are a little bit in the mode of goodness, they can understand that. But anything else, better to let them chant Hare Krishna first, unless they're already practicing some yoga discipline or something. Otherwise, they'll go away. So these factors can be so different, and therefore this deep analysis of action, and apparently unrelated. Just like if you read our acharyas and their comments on most of these verses, they don't even talk about bhakti. It's just analysis, but it's leading up to bhakti. Because what were they doing? They were, when were they speaking? In the midst of a society that was steeped in Mayavad philosophy. Srila Prabhupada just makes it Krishna consciousness. He practically, where there's no mention of bhakti, Srila Prabhupada includes bhakti, either in the verse or the purport. Because he doesn't have to deal with people who are so immersed in Vedic philosophy. He's dealing with the world. And the world in general needs Krishna. We're not, if Prabhupada would have given the analysis according to, just like the acharyas, especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, then, most people wouldn't understand it. And many people would become, like many times they just speak about the Brahman. When it says Brahman, they say Brahman. They don't say Krishna. But Prabhupada says Krishna. So, but the analysis given here, Jnanam Geyam, in the beginning of chapter 13, Arjuna mentions 6 things, of which these 2, Jnanam Geyam, and also the knower, Parigyata. But actually the knower, it was a specific knower, the knower of Kshatragya in chapter 13. So this is Parigyata, a knower. He may not be the knower, just speaking about knowledge in general. So here, Jnanam, knowledge, is the motivating factor, which is, in this verse, is chodana, the impetus. Now Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, the impetus is to be, hear the scripture and hear the spiritual master and act in Krishna consciousness. So he's speaking, he's giving us the ultimate impetus. But in any work, there's some knowledge, and the knowledge is the motivating factor. Meaning that you have not, just like if I have knowledge that I need to accomplish this, I need to go to work, then that knowledge will create an impetus, that yes, now I have to put together the actions, and here it says there's 3 factors in the actions: the senses, the work, and the doer. So that action, requires the senses. Just like me today, I was very sick in the morning, so I was supposed to go to Mangalartik, but I didn't go because the senses were not cooperating. And at least I managed to chant Hare Krishna, but no, the work, the activity was not possible because the senses were not able to perform the action. And the doer wasn't able to take the impetus or the motivation to do so. So this is a very detailed analysis. But if we go into a more general understanding of what's going on here, this was given actually in the previous verse. Otherwise, from time to time, Krishna will indicate that actually what we want is pure bhakti. What we want is pure, although he says it indirectly, like in the previous verse. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled. Otherwise, saying, Arjuna, this is what you have to attain. This is the person who can act properly. And then, now Krishna goes into another analysis. And then the next series of verses, from 19 to text 40, is an analysis of action, very deep analysis of action. But the point is that all of this these are the limits or the regulations for renunciation. Now, of course, I looked up one verse, very nice verse. This is a verse spoken by Devahuti, which gives us the essence of renunciation. This is from the Bhagavad-Gita 3:23-56. Nehayat karma dharmaya viraghaya kalpate natirtapada sevayai jivanapi itohi sa. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate them to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although still living. So we see the progression here. Anyone who's working, but that work doesn't bring them to the point, as it says here, elevate them to religiosity, to dharma. Of course, dharma, Krishna defines in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Patyaksha Bhagavam Dharmam. That when real dharma means the full understanding that one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this is the type of dharma that Bhagavad-Gita is giving us. And then, but if you perform religious activities, and those religious activities don't result in renunciation, then those religious activities aren't very valuable. And if your renunciation doesn't open the door for devotional service, doesn't bring you to the platform of devotional service, then it's useless renunciation. So this is really summing up what Krishna is speaking about in this whole this whole chapter. Now this chapter, and of course chapter 17, began from a statement that Krishna makes in the end of the 16th chapter. Yashastra vidhim utsrijha. Those who give up the direction of Shastra, vartade kama karata, and they follow their whims, they follow their desires. Nasasidhim avapnoti, nasukam naparam gatim. That they can never reach any perfection, they'll never be happy, and they'll never reach the final goal. So that was that then Arjuna asked in the beginning of the 17th chapter, then will people who Because everybody has some kind of faith. Otherwise, we all have faith in something or someone. No? Prabhupada gave this example. People have faith. His famous example was airline ticket. No? You buy an airline ticket. Of course, now they don't have tickets. You get an email, but an e-ticket or whatever. You have faith that that little message on the computer or on your cell phone. Now people don't even use computers. No, that little writing on that cell phone will allow you to travel, 5,000, 10,000 kilometers or more or less. You have faith. So everyone has faith in something. No. And so Arjuna, he makes the very intelligent question. What if that faith is not based on, you just said that, so what's the position of these people? And this began the whole analysis of everything done in the modes of nature, beginning with eating. Now why did Krishna begin with eating? No. Because really he focused on three things. And what are those three things? Who remembers? The three things that Krishna focuses on in his analysis of how the three modes of nature affect us. Three things, which we're talking about even in the beginning of this chapter. They should never be given up. Sacrifice, tapasya or penance, and charity. No. So these three things. But why does he speak about eating before these three things? No. Because one thing we do every day, no, and it's a sacrifice, and it's a penance. No, it's a sacrifice because you have to work to get your food. It's a penance because we offer it to Krishna. No, we don't just eat anything on the street. And charity, no, because we're giving to the body. So, and it's the essential thing. It's the one thing that everybody does every day, unless you're doing some fast or something. So Krishna begins with that. Because if you don't eat properly, if you don't eat in the mode of goodness, and what to speak, of course, devotees, we're not even so concerned eating in the mode of goodness. But we eat things in the mode of goodness offered to Krishna. That's the topmost. So anyway, then Krishna launches into an analysis of these things. Austerity, and sacrifice, and charity. How they're done. And this, because how they're done, otherwise we see in the mode of ignorance, everything is done, sometimes it's not even done, it's not done. And by not doing it, or you either do the wrong thing or you don't do the right thing in the mode of ignorance. And in the mode of passion, you do the right thing with the wrong motivation. And in the mode of goodness, you do the right thing with the right motivation, but there's always self-interest. And in the transcendental mode of Vishuddha Sattva, you do the right thing for the right reason, with the right motive. So Krishna began this chapter by saying, so these things should never be given up. Although there's a verse, and I can't remember, like, was it three or four, that the question is, should they be given up, these three things, or should they be practiced? Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says they should be, someone who's very analytical, a jnani yogi, he can give them up. But someone who's generally attached in this world, he should not give them up. And Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this in the purport, that these three things should be given. And then, later on, Srila Prabhupada shows that even if you've renounced these things, you don't renounce them completely. And he gives himself as the example of a sannyasi performing marriage or arranging marriage. Of course, nowadays, we can't do that because then people will blame you if the marriage goes bad. So better not to recommend, just like say, take into account everything. I got blamed a few times, so I I know how that goes. No. So Prabhupada says, even if you're in the renounced order of life, or even if you have transcended these three things, you must support them. They are necessary for society. No. Otherwise, this is a very important aspect of renunciation, and what we're speaking about here, jnana, having full knowledge in devotional service, means that we understand how everything is to be used, which is going back to what I just referred to a few minutes ago, no? That yukta vairagyam, no? Yukta vairagyam, yatarham upayunjitaha. You have discernment, discrimination, how to do everything, how to use everything properly in Krishna's service. No? And this is such an important thing, because sometimes we take this idea of yukta vairagya, it can become self-serving. No? Yukta vairagya, yeah, use everything in Krishna's service. But then Srila Prabhupada gave the example that one can say, I'm an American, and the president is an American, therefore I'm the president. But that's not very good logic. No. So in the same way, we can't think, I'm a devotee, and everything I do is devotional service. No. I'm a devotee does devotional service, therefore everything I do is devotional service. No. We can't use that logic. No. It has to be, the proper motivation has to be there. So this verse is leading us up to that point, having the proper motivation. And this is the essence. Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of his Nectar of Instruction, in the preface, he says that the important thing, otherwise what's being established here in this Nectar of Instruction is the proper attitude. You have to have the right attitude. And the right attitude means, what is the motivation? And to have the proper motivation, then you need to know what things are detrimental to devotional service. No, just like we're speaking here about chodana, impetus, and jnana, understanding, having the elements to understand what is the proper impetus. No. So Rupa Goswami gives us that, atyahara parayasascha, prajalpa niyamagraha, that you don't want to be motivated by these things, but actually modern society is motivated by these things. Just like modern, consumer society, whether they call it capitalist, whether they call it socialist, it all has this consumer idea. And the consumer idea means atyahara prayasascha, to consume, to eat more than necessary, to acquire more than necessary. Otherwise, the motivating factor in modern society is greed. No, that everyone, you must become more and more greedy. No. This is what modern civilization is all about. No. So Rupa Goswami gives us the tools by which we can be properly motivated. So you avoid these things. No? Jnana sangha, you avoid association with worldly minded persons, you avoid prajalpa, you avoid following rules and regulations that are unnecessary, and you avoid, you follow those rules and regulations you don't give them up if they're necessary. And then he tells us what is favorable. Favorable. You have to be enthusiastic. Now these three, especially the first three things, utsaha nishchaya daryat, these three things are universal principles. Actually, practically everything that Rupa Goswami gave was a universal principle applied to bhakti. Because everybody, to accomplish anything in this world, you have to have enthusiasm. Just like people want to make money, they have to be enthusiastic. But you can't just, there's one saying, I can't remember the Bengali part of it, but, or maybe, no, it's not, it's a Sanskrit saying. from the Hitopadesha, that the lion cannot just open his mouth. He can't just be sitting there, lying down, open his mouth, and think that the animals will walk in. No. He has to be a little enthusiastic. He has to go chase them and kill them and eat them. No. So, in the same way, we can't just sit down and think that everything will be accomplished. There has to be enthusiasm. And Srila Prabhupada said again and again and again that enthusiasm is the most important factor in devotional service. And that, how do we get enthusiasm? No. Satam prasangam mamas virya samvido. By the association with people who are enthusiastic. Otherwise, practically everything we do in life comes from association. No. And especially the inspiration. Srila Prabhupada uses the word here, inspiration. No. That chodana means inspiration. No. So what is the source of inspiration? What is the source of inspiration for people who perform all kinds of nonsense activities? No. The source of inspiration is whoever they meet, their friends. They see something on television, radio, cell phone, and they become inspired by association. Jayato vishayan pumsa. No. When we contemplate something enough, then we become inspired to experience it. No. So these universal principles, enthusiasm, patience, and faith, no, these three things are there in everything, and therefore they must be there in devotional service. And this will give us, if we do that, and we understand how to apply them properly. No. How do we apply them properly? We apply them properly by having loving exchanges with Vaishnavas. No. Not loving, these loving exchanges, of course Srila Prabhupada gives the example, they go on in any situation. No. Prabhupada gives the example of business people. Business people, they take someone to lunch or dinner, and you feed them, and and then when they're happy and satisfied, then and we do the same thing. We give people prasadam, and then when they have prasadam, and then we say, no, now you can chant Hare Krishna. No. So the point is that so that action is performed properly. No. All these factors have to be there. But the main factor in devotional service is what was given in the previous verse, that you have to understand, here is the real combination, that previous verse, and this is just separating it out again, that everything has to be performed without false ego. No. Everything has to be performed without false ego, and with your intelligence very clear. No. And what is that clear intelligence? No. Clear intelligence means knowing. No. As it says here, jnanam. You have to know what is what has to be accomplished. No. The object of knowledge. What is the object of knowledge? Krishna. Yeah. The object of knowledge. So knowledge means devotional service. Understanding the devotional service, and the object of that knowledge is Krishna. And the knower, who can know this? A devotee. No. So this is how we apply this particular verse. No, Trivida karma chodana. Then karma is not speaking about here karma meaning my karma from my past life. This means the actions that are come about by our impetus. And then karanam karma kartite. No. Correspondingly, the senses, the work, and the doer, no, they will respond. No. If we understand Krishna is very beautiful, and we see that Krishna is very beautiful, then our eyes will be attracted to Krishna. If we hear about Krishna enough, then our ears will be attracted to Krishna. No. If we serve Krishna enough, then our senses will be attracted to serving Krishna. So this is how we, and then that's the senses. Then the work. What is the work? Serving Krishna. No. Srila Prabhupada said devotional service should be performed with enthusiasm, independently and thoughtfully. No. So when we are inspired to serve Krishna by independent, thoughtful, devotional service, then the doer, then the constituent, this is another factor, then the doer, we become motivated, we become desirous of pleasing Krishna, satisfying Krishna, and working in devotional service. So we see this, that renunciation, sometimes renunciation, because it's necessary, no. It's necessary because it happens to everyone. There's no one who doesn't renounce. No. Everyone renounces, but sometimes we're forced to renounce. No. Just like when you die, then you renounce, whether you like it or not. No. But of course you may not renounce the images in the subtle body. No. That's the unfortunate part. But you have to renounce. No. Arjuna, he said that in the second chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. Nahi prapashyami manapanudyat. That I can't figure out what's going on. Yachchosham uchchoshanam indriyanam. No, my senses are drying up. I can't find any pleasure, Krishna, in what you're trying to engage me in. I can't find any pleasure. So even if you give me a kingdom with the sovereignty of the demigods, no, I won't be happy. No. So Krishna is telling us that what will make us happy? He's saying, Krishna, that please instruct me, please tell me what will make me happy. Because this will not, this warfare won't make me happy. Of course it will. He understands ultimately that it will, because of the fifth factor that was given a few verses ago, diving. No, the diving, the super soul, the divine factor, the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will make me happy. So this is karma sangraha. No, this will everything will be accumulated. Everything will have its ultimate repose or ultimate result in Krishna. No, if we just become satisfied. So there were cases of renunciation in the Bhagavatam, like the Avadhuta Brahman. He was forced to renounce. No? And there are situations in the Bhagavatam, also Dhruva Maharaj, he was forced by anger to renounce. No? And there are other cases where Bali Maharaj, he was so attracted to Vamanadev, he was so beautiful, he was so wonderful, that he even renounced the order of his spiritual master, who was saying, "You fool, this is Vishnu, this is the enemy, no? Wake up." No? And he said, Vishnu, we should obey Vishnu, no? Even though he's a demon. No? We have to obey Vishnu. So he renounced the spiritual master. So this is the type of renunciation we want. We want to be attracted to Krishna. No? Because by being attracted to Krishna, then renunciation becomes very easy. And in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, no, it says that Vasudeve Bhagavati bhakti-yoga prayojitaha janayat yasyu vairagyam jnanachaya dahaitukam. That vairagyam is a product of bhakti. No? First, bhakti has to be there. No? Therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave us books, gave prasadam, gave us the process of devotional service, and then the renunciation come later. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the holy name, Krishna Prema Pradayate, the holy name which is imbued with prema. No, he gave us, at least gave us the theoretical understanding of prema, and then later on the renunciation will come. Otherwise, if you chant properly, if you perform this process of devotional service properly, then renunciation will come. Jnanam, the knowledge will come. So, really, what we're speaking about here, that the constituents of the action, or the result of this action, is Krishna. But Krishna has to be there first, so that the action will result properly. No, Krishna has to be there first. So, and therefore Srila Prabhupada says, so how do we get our impetus? How do we get our inspiration? We get it from Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu. And then our actions, our work, our senses, all these factors will be totally absorbed in Krishna, and our Krishna consciousness will flourish more and more and more, and we'll be spiritually happy. So these are some thoughts on this verse. I'll stop here. Any question? Yes. Comments?
In the beginning, you said that so many arguments in Bhagavad-Gita has given, and in the end he says Sarva Dharman Parityajaya. So, what we should do? We should see the arguments in the Bhagavad-Gita and understand what in 1866 he says Sarva Dharman. So, can you say something about that?
Well, because how many different mentalities are there? Just like in this room, there are all kinds of different levels of spiritual advancement. There's all kinds of tendencies. One devotee wants to serve Krishna like this. Someone else may be working, maintaining their family, and dedicating their efforts to Krishna or their money to Krishna. And someone else may be in the renounced order, and someone else, may be, teaching school, and so. So, Krishna gives throughout Bhagavad-Gita the different analysis of, okay, that sounds like my situation, but then he brings it to the point of devotional service. Just like in the 6th chapter, he speaks about yoga, and then Arjuna makes the point that this yoga practice seems impossible for me. And Krishna says, no, you just have to do it. But then he says, how do you do it? Yoginam api sarvesham madgadanam taratmanaha. That you keep Krishna within your heart. And then you will become the best of yogis. You don't have to follow this arduous process. At the end of the 8th chapter, just like these things which are said that they have to be there. So in the 8th chapter, at the end, Krishna says, what is it? Vedishu jagishu tapasu jaiva danishu yat punya param pradishtam atyati yat sarvamidam vididva. That the real yogi, that yogi stanam upaiti chadyam, that the real yogi is that person who in one step, means the process of devotional service, accomplishes Vedic studies, austerities, sacrifices, charity. All these things are accomplished. So, but for those people who practice yoga, they have to hear that analysis. That's what they're doing. They're sitting like this. They're looking at the tip of their nose. And so each one of us is in a different situation, and therefore that all these different processes are necessary to bring us to that point. But like I said, everybody here, hopefully, we're already working on 1866. We're working on including everything we're doing in the process of surrender. We just have to figure out how to do it properly with the right inspiration, enthusiasm, etc., so that we don't become, because a devotee has to do double work. Just like everybody else in this world, they make money or do something. A devotee has to make money and be Krishna conscious at the same time. So we have to do double work. So therefore, sometimes we become distracted, and we need some help, Bhagavad-Gita, association with Vaishnavas, instruction, to help us have that degree of enthusiasm to have to do what I have to do in this world to maintain this body, and what I have to do to approach Krishna's lotus feet more and more every day. So devotional services, as Prabhupada said, nobody works as hard as a devotee. No, devotees work 24 hours. No. Even when they're sleeping, they're working. Hopefully, working on being more Krishna conscious. Yes.
Maharaj, we define the jnana as yukta vairagya. Then people describe jnana as distinction between matter and spirit.
Yeah.
How could you connect this?
No, jnana, yukta vairagya is the ultimate. The ultimate. When Bhagavad-Gita defining knowledge, knowledge means you understand the Supreme Person, the Spirit, Soul, and matter, and the relationship between them. So that's the beginning of knowledge. No? That's sambandha. No? But once you come to abhideya, then how do I perform service? And that's where knowledge becomes yukta vairagyam. When you come to the point where I want to be engaged in devotional service. No? Otherwise, before that, I have to understand matter, it belongs to the Supreme, I'm part of the Supreme. What is this matter for? It's an analysis. No? So Bhagavad-Gita is describing that so we can analyze it and come to the proper conclusion of abhideya, that now I have to engage this matter, starting with this matter, the body, in devotional service. Yes.
Thank you very much for the class. Could you please explain what does it mean to perform devotional service independently?
Perform devotional service?
You said we have to perform devotional service enthusiastically, independently, and
thoughtfully, yeah.
So what does it mean independent?
What does it mean to be independent?
To perform devotional service independently.
Independent, it means devotional service should be independent, not independent of Krishna, but it should be, Prabhupada, when he said that, he meant that devotees should not just be told what to do, told how to think, but they should see that their service to Krishna is unique, even though someone may say clean the floor, but I will do it in a particular way that will be independent. It will be unique, because I'm an individual soul. Otherwise, basically it means don't perform devotional service mechanically. Make it thoughtful. Make it a meditation. Even if you're just cleaning pots, whatever you're doing, you should make it a meditation on Krishna. That's what it means. Hare Krishna.
You mentioned today is Disciplines Day of Narahari.
Narahari Shakar. Yeah.
And today is the Disciplines Date of Prabhupada.
Yes, well, of course we already celebrated that, but by solar calendar, by solar calendar it is the Disappearance Day, and right now we would be about an hour and 20 minutes away from when Prabhupada disappeared on this solar. Yes, so we can remember Prabhupada this 14th of November. Actually, I remember I was doing Sankirtan. Of course, the 14th then was afternoon. It was like late afternoon. And I remember that for some reason, all of a sudden, that night, when I came back from Sankirtan, I just felt horrible because I was in a distant country, and there was no cell phone, there was no internet, there was no WhatsApp, and so I didn't actually get the news till 2 days later. And but I remember at that time, and the next day I couldn't do any Sankirtan. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't figure it out. And then all of a sudden these rebels I was in a country where there was a revolution going on. The rebels came and surrounded us, machine guns, and I came out with a book, because they saw me speaking with the president of the country, who they were rebelling against. And I said, no, I was just giving him a book. So I explained to it, and they said, okay. But so I just, everything went wrong that day. That's the point. So I can remember that day very clearly. Of course, for me, it was the 15th. No, it was the 14th night here, so it was the 15th where I was. I mean, I'm sorry, it was the 13th night, and then it was the 14th was the miserable day, which was the 15th here. Anyway, yes, so we can remember Srila Prabhupada's disappearance is an impetus for us to, speaking about impetus, to take the burden and responsibility of his legacy. Any other question or comment? Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Jai Gaur Premanandi.